Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID Update by Heerak for May 27, 2020. It's my father's birthday. So I want to say happy birthday, Dan. And you see the photograph there from his previous birthday? He's blowing out his candle. You can't separate my mom and my dad. So my mom's blowing out a candle too. you know, um, yeah, I mean, two shall become one, right? They've been happily married all their life, since they get married. And it's a beautiful thing when you marry and then you stay with the person you marry for the rest of your life. Because at the wedding, you say, you will, love each other until death do you part, right? And it's a shame that some people get divorced because, in a sense, that makes you a liar, right? And obviously, Jesus Christ was against divorce. And St. Paul emphasized it among the churches that you should not get divorced. So Christians who get divorced are generally barred from Christian church leadership in conservative Bible churches because Jesus Christ himself said you should not get divorced. So if you get divorced, generally that prohibits you from any kind of major church leadership. Well, that's for people who really respect the Bible and the words of Jesus. And not everybody does. But yeah. So you're hearing Mormon Tabernacle Choir sing When the Saints Go Marching In. And I believe that Mormons believe that abortion is wrong, but also divorce is wrong. I'm not 100% sure about that, but they have a wonderful choir. And they have traditionally been very conservative against abortion, against gay marriage. And so they have often been political allies of evangelical Christians who are also against gay marriage and abortion. So, yeah. But anyway, just a little bit of your background regarding politics. And, America is a very Christian nation, so people go to church, people identify themselves with a religion. Most of them Christianity, over 300 million Americans. And so Christian songs like When Saints Go Marching In is part of American culture. You can't change that. Just an American culture is very Christian culture. And that's not only with white people, it's with African American people, Hispanic people, Asian people. So, this is America, it's Christian America. Yeah. I created COVID-19 update by Heerak show in order to help you survive COVID-19. And it's a daily show. So subscribe to this YouTube channel and make sure you tune in every day. To be in that number. Well, don't you want to be in that number? When the saints go marching in, on to be in the number, when the saints go marching in. Yeah, so it's Christian America, and it's always been Christian America since the Puritans arrived, or even before that. Jamestown Colony, was all Christian, and this is Christian America. So if you don't like it, leave. Yeah, but that's how most Americans feel. African Americans feel that way, Hispanic Americans feel that way, Asian Americans feel that way, Christian, like white Americans feel that way. If you don't like Christian America, you shouldn't be here. There are other countries in the world where you can be happy. So if you don't like Christian America, then you should leave. But anyway, so welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. for May 27th. My father is a Presbyterian pastor in the Korean Presbyterian Church. And he's been a pastor since he graduated from seminary, Korea Theological Seminary, which is also known as Koshin Seminary in South Korea. And he founded the Koshin Seminary, Korea Theological Seminary in America as well. He's a major leader around the world in global Christian missions. And he has planted or participated in planting or supported in planting Presbyterian churches around the world. So the model that my father uses is to go into a country, let's say, Nigeria, and then start Christianizing, an area that's not Christian, like Muslims or native religions, and then, encourage people who are new converts, whom God calls to be pastors, to become pastors, and then encourage them to start a Presbyterian denomination. So generally, my father starts a Presbyterian seminary, or support starting of that by missionaries in the area, and then they train the pastors, and then local pastors become the leaders of the Presbyterian church. So the end product would be Nigerian Presbyterian Church, led by Nigerians who have converted to Christianity through the missionary work of Korean missionaries in the Korean Presbyterian Church. So, my cousin Yoon, Reverend Yoon, he has been a missionary all his life in Sierra Leone, and that's what he did. He went there right out of seminary after he married his wife, and he started converting native, indigenous religious people to Christianity in obedience to the Great Commission, which is, go into the world, baptizing people in the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and making disciples of all nations. So Christians seek to make disciples of nations, so that nations follow the Christian law. And so in Ireland, it used to be a pagan nation, and then St. Patrick successfully converted the country into Christianity. So they abandoned paganism and became Christians, and the nation of Ireland became a Christian nation. So that's the model of Christian evangelism that is supported in the evangelical Christian churches, and that is to make nations disciples of Jesus Christ, so that nations will become Christian nations. And so that's a very distinctive characteristic of missionary work of evangelical Christians. And my father is an evangelical Christian pastor. His denomination is Presbyterian. And that's the model that Catholic missionaries follow. And that's why when you go to Catholic countries in Latin America, the nations are Christian nations or Catholic nations, because they follow the Great Commission model, meaning they feel like they have to make the whole nation Christian and the laws in that nation Christian. So so the Great Commission, which is the command that Jesus gave before he went into heaven, is that you must make nations disciples. That's what we call Great Commission. And so that's the model that the Catholic Church follows, and evangelical Christian denominations, whether it's the Nazarenes, Assemblies of God, Southern Baptist Convention, Presbyterian Church in America, that's the model that they follow. They seek to make nations, Christian nations, wherever they go and, conduct their Christian missionary work. Some say, they're religiously intolerant because of that. So be it. What are you going to do, right? I mean, it's part of Christian religion that you're supposed to make disciples of all nations. What are you going to do? Change your religion? Yeah. So anyway, that's the model that the Catholic Church has followed for 2,000 years. And the Protestant Church has followed since the Reformation started in 1517 by Martin Luther, who nailed 95 theses in the Württemberg church, and I visited that church in Germany. And you may never have a chance to visit because COVID-19 is predicted to be here forever by experts, healthcare experts, and no one knows if there will be a cure or vaccine. Uh, you know, in 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, there were hundreds of vaccine experiments and they all failed. And fortunately for them, the flu kind of went away by itself in 2, 3 years. But it doesn't always happen that way because HIV is here to stay. It's 365 days a year. Same with hepatitis C virus is 365 days a year. There are viruses that are 365 days a year, and COVID-19 seems to be a virus which is a 365 days a year, and it seems like it's like HIV and hepatitis C virus. It seems like it's always there, and it's like that with hepatitis B virus, hepatitis A virus. A lot of viruses that are 365 days a year, and it's forever. But unfortunately for you, COVID-19 is highly infectious and it kills a lot of people. So it's a very dangerous virus. And I saw a special lecture today given by the director of infectious diseases, a nursing professor at Johns Hopkins School of Nursing, which is a good school of nursing. I'm saying Georgetown University School of Nursing is better. I am at Georgetown School of Nursing and Health Studies. I'm graduating with master's degree as a clinical nurse leader. That's my concentration. In summer 2020, we have cohort of 25 members, and we are graduating. We participate in the graduation ceremony already, but our program officially ends in August. So I want to take this time to say congratulations to all my cohort members. I love you guys. This is our summer. Pinning ceremony is Friday. Pin, 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 pin. Yeah. So our pinning ceremony is Friday. If you go to my Twitter account, Heerak for Congress, number 4, Heerak for Congress, you will see the program for the pinning ceremony that I posted up on my tweet. So have a look at that. So all of us are very excited, and you can see the names of all the clinical nurse leader students who are being pinned this Friday. The names are listed in the official program, and that's it's public information. So and the names of all the bachelors of science and nursing students. There are 26 of them, and all of their names are listed. So some of you may know them, especially if you're from Virginia's 8th District. I know some of them are in Maryland, Montgomery County. So, you may know them. So, look at the names and see if you know any of them. And this is public information. Obviously, it's a program that is handed out to everybody, and the ceremony is open to the public generally. And you see behind me on the screen, pinning ceremony from year 2019, last year. It was held at the auditorium of business school, McDonald School of Business at Georgetown University. They have a nice auditorium, so it was held at that auditorium. But it's a public ceremony, and anybody can come in, and the pinning ceremony programs are handed out to the public. So it's public information. And they had the award ceremony for School of Nursing and Health Studies before they had the pinning ceremony. So I mean, it was back to back. I went to both of them, and so you see the professors in School of Nursing and Health Studies. They're seated there in the front. It's a big brouhaha. And this year, master students who are clinical nurse leaders and bachelors of science students, we would have probably been at the same place, auditorium at the McDonald School of Business at Georgetown University for our pinning ceremony. But unfortunately, COVID-19 shut everything down. we are here, and we are going to be lions. Obviously, we're going to be lions in the field of nursing. Uh, but you know, we won't have a physical pinning ceremony. Uh, but yeah, I mean, in the COVID-19, obviously we're going to have casualties, and I'm predicting that 20% of the graduating class will die. Class of 2020 nursing schools throughout the country. So we have 25 people graduating in a master's program in clinical nurse leader. Um, and so I'm expecting at least five of my class members to die. Those who have allergies, those who have peanut allergies, or gluten free, because their immune system is more compromised. So with COVID-19, they have a higher chance of dying, or asthma, or diabetes, or any kind of heart condition or kidney condition or genetic disease. You know, these people will most likely die if they get COVID-19. Um, chance of survival is probably going to be very low, especially as cases increase in number, meaning the number of people who die from COVID-19. And so I'm expecting five at least to die, and I have an idea of who the five may be. I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm sure everybody at master's program and clinical nurse leader are making lists of our classmates who may die from COVID-19 in the next year or two, because this is here to stay. We had a Zoom session with our clinical professor today for the summer, and she is a um, trainer at Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C. So she's been a leader in that hospital for a long time. She's a nurse educator. And she was saying COVID-19 is here to stay. And she was saying her son-in-law in Delaware went to a grocery store and got COVID-19, or was a friend's, like a friend. Um, yeah, I mean, you could get COVID-19 in a grocery store, obviously, because homemade masks are only about 30 to 40% effective. So there's over 50% chance you could get COVID-19 if you talk to people in a grocery store with your homemade mask on. And so, yeah, that's definitely possible. And she was saying like all the nurses are very afraid of COVID-19, that they'll get it because they know they could die from it. And even if you don't die, you suffer horribly, most of the people, not all the people. So, I mean, even if you don't die, you have like horrible suffering for like several weeks. And they say something like, what, 60 to 70% people get intubated, like mechanical ventilation because they can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. That's what they say because they can't breathe. Yeah. It's a respiratory virus, and which means, it travels every time you speak. So if you're speaking to people, the more you speak to people, the higher chance you have of getting COVID because it's a respiratory virus. You either breathe it in, you know, and obviously if somebody's talking to you, the spit is flying, right? You've had experience of talking to people like a feet or 2 feet away and feeling their spit right in your face. Yeah, because when people talk, these molecules come out. So yeah, you have a higher chance of dying. I'm predicting that over 1 million Americans will die by August 2020 because this is a 24-hour, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year virus. And experts are saying it's not going to go away. And today, my clinical professor, who's been a nurse for decades, she reiterated it's not going to go away. And nurses are deadly afraid of it. And so, I mean, that's what I've been hearing from every single professor, nursing professor who work in she is a major leader at Sibley Hospital in Washington, D.C., which is a Johns Hopkins University has, like a healthcare network. But I've heard that from people who work at Georgetown MedStar Hospital, people who are working Arundel Hospital in Annapolis. We have professors who live in Annapolis area. I've heard that from everybody. I've heard that from professors who work in Inova Fairfax Hospital, Virginia Hospital Center, all the nurses are deadly afraid because they know they could die from COVID-19. So right now, all the nurses, there are 4 million nurses in America, they're all deadly afraid. I'm predicting that at least 10,000 nurses will die by December, but probably much more than that because COVID-19 is killing a lot of people. And, come fall, you're going to have influenza A and influenza B coming and killing people. And people with COVID-19 and influenza, their probably chance of death is like 99%. Yeah. So if you have both of them at the same time, and that's definitely possible. You could have like HIV, hepatitis C, influenza A, and COVID all at the same time. I mean, that's possible. So yeah, that's like 100% death. There's no way you're gonna live if you have all of them together at the same time. Yeah. So you look forward to fall when we may have millions of people die. From September to like March. Millions. I'm predicting that over 30 million Americans will die in the next 2-3 years from COVID-19 because this is a killer virus and it's 365 days a year and it's not going away. And people start working and start engaging other people socially. So it's going to spread like wildfire. So the important thing to remember is we are kind of like in March. But except in March, everybody shut down and went into hiding. And that's why we still had people dying at 4,000 people per day, around Easter time. But, we didn't have like million people die, which we could have had if we didn't close down. But now that we're opening up again, and nothing has changed, COVID-19 is killing people. I think it's safe to say that about million or more people will die by August, just because nothing has changed. Only thing that has changed is between March and now is that we're opening up, which means now millions of people can die. So I'm predicting 1 million people will die by August, at least in America alone. And then, in the next couple of years, 30 million Americans at least will die. Experts say, anywhere from 60 to 100% of Americans can get infected. And you can be 100% guaranteed that we're going to run out of PPE, we're going to run out of ventilators, we're going to run out of hospital beds. People are going to die. Right now, death rate is 6%, as you can see here. But once the death rate rises exponentially, we're going to have like anywhere from 10%. I mean, Spain has 11% death of all cases. United Kingdom has 14% of all death of all cases. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Once hospital beds run out, you could have 50% of all confirmed cases die, or even 100% if there's no medicine. So you will see that. That's coming. Yeah, I think it's guaranteed that you will see that because this is COVID-19. Unless God stops COVID-19, and I don't think He will. Just looking at the Bible, I think we should expect it. Yeah. So because from a scientific perspective, when you don't consider God factor, scientists are saying, yeah, this is 365 days a year. It's going to be forever. People are going to die. So I think most scientists would not be shocked if there are 300 million people dying in the next 3-4 years. I don't think people will be shocked at all. Scientists, because scientists know that this is a virus that kills. That's what pandemics do. Black plague killed 1/3 of the world's population. So if this is like Black plague, 2.4 billion people can die from this. Yeah, that's scientifically possible. So don't be shocked if you see 1 billion people die in the next 5 years or so. Because it's possible. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so as I said, this is like new normal, 1,500 deaths per day. Yeah. And obviously, we just started opening up, so we're not really seeing the cases of the opened up yet. That's coming in 2-3 weeks. And those who die from that are coming in like a month, 5-6 weeks later. So I'm estimating that we're going to have 10,000 deaths per day in the summertime. That's coming. Yeah, watch. I hate to say it. I would love to be wrong, but This is a virus. It just kills. It's not like just because you don't see it, it doesn't mean it's gone. It's there. Yeah, it's everywhere. And it's infecting and killing. Yeah, so, don't be surprised if your child dies from it or your husband dies from it. You should expect it. And as I said, I expect at least 20% of the my graduating class, masters in clinical nurse leader, to die. And I picked out like 5 who I think will die. Because, they've kind of revealed that they have like this condition or that condition. So they get COVID, chances are they're going to die. And so, yeah. Um, yeah, this is not a joke, nurses who've been nurses for 40, 50 years and seen everything, or 30 years, have seen everything, are afraid of this thing. So, uh, can you imagine? I mean, these nurses who've seen every virus there is in the world are afraid of this thing. It's something to be afraid of. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think I'm not wrong to say 20% of all the class of 2020 nurses who work at a hospital would die. Yeah, so that's 5 out of 25. So I'm expecting about minimum 5 in my cohort to die, and minimum 5 in BSN program to die. Because I'm sure there are people who have asthma. They carry one of those albuterol. That's not going to save you from COVID. You're going to die. If you get COVID-19 and you have asthma, chances are you're going to die. Albuterol, that's not going to work. Yeah, you're going to probably die. So whoever is using albuterol for their asthma, yeah, you'll probably die if you get COVID in the hospital setting as a nurse. A lot of nurses use that thing. They have like asthma attacks without COVID, and you could die from asthma attacks without COVID. Can you imagine if they have COVID? It's like they're not going to live. So I think all the asthma people will die. I'm predicting every single nurse who's an asthma person will die. And then all the nurses, graduating class of 2020 who are like gluten free, they're allergic to gluten, they're going to die. Because, their immune system is compromised. They break out, when they eat like wheat product, like they eat like a piece of bread. They're going to die. So all the gluten-free people, they're going to probably die. Celiac disease, we call it. People with peanut allergies will die. I don't see them living because, if you are allergic to peanut, and you know how many products are peanut-based, and you get COVID-19, people with peanut allergies can break out, have an allergic reaction with any kind of peanut-based product. And over 50% of the products have some kind of peanut type based oil or, ingredient, don't quote me on this because I'm not a food expert, but there's a lot of products with peanut stuff in it. Yeah, and you start breaking out while you have COVID, you're dead. Yeah, you're not gonna live. So I would say people with peanut allergies, people with celiac disease, they have 3 gluten-free products. People who have asthma, they're going to die. So if your children have asthma and they go to school in the fall, if it opens, they'll probably die. I think you should expect them to die, and you should be surprised if they don't die. I think not dying is the exception. Dying is the rule because, in the fall, it's going to get worse when COVID-19 is combined with influenza A. So if your children have asthma or peanut allergy or they have celiac disease like gluten-free or some kind of health condition, just prepare yourself for their death in the fall if you send them to their school. As I said, I'm not married. I've never been married. I hope that God will send me a good Christian woman to marry. I'm praying about that. She has to be beautiful and she has to be like thin, like below 120 pounds preferably. And hopefully like 5'7" or taller, but anyway, that's like my preference. But if you fall in love, your criterion gets thrown out the window, But anyway, yeah. But anyway, that's my preference. For those of you who may be interested in applying to be my wife, yeah. And you can always email me, So, yeah. Did I tell you about Bachelor in Poland? Yeah, there's an episode where there was a bachelor in Poland. So if you scroll back, to several weeks ago, you will see my episode Bachelor in Poland when I met, dozens and dozens of Polish women, and one of them can be my wife. So if you have a choice that you like, email me and let me know, and it will influence. I mean, I don't know if I ever be able to go back to Poland with this COVID-19, but but hey, you never know. And so um, yeah, I would not recommend you take a vacation anywhere this summer, especially if you have children. And definitely know if you have children with allergies or have asthma. Do not take a trip. Do not kill your children. Okay, because don't go crying and saying why God when your child with asthma dies after you take a family vacation because they get COVID. So I told you, Heerak Christian Kim, candidate for U.S. Congress, independent candidate for U.S. Congress, Virginia's 8th district, told you in this show, do not go on a vacation. And you should just kind of take this as a message from God, because obviously God's in control and God allowed you to see this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. And I'm providing you this information that can save your children's life. And that's the reason why I created this show. So you heard from Heerak Christian Kim, do not go on a vacation. And if you do go on a vacation and your children die, then don't blame God, because Heerak Christian Kim told you not to go on a vacation. And then you just went on a vacation anyway. I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. I told you not to go on vacation, not to jeopardize your children's life. You go on a vacation, then you deserve to have your children die. I mean, I don't want to say you deserve it, but if your child has asthma or celiac disease or gluten-free disease or peanut allergy, and you go on a trip for family vacation because you need a vacation, I mean, geez, you're just a bad mom. You're a bad dad. You're putting your children's life in risk. So do not go on a vacation. Yes, of course, World, Disneyland, Epcot Center, they want to make money off of you. So they're going to tell you to go on a vacation. They're going to say it's okay, but you think they're going to be there at the funeral of your child? No, they just want your money. So stay away from Disney this summer. Yeah, don't be going to Disney World and Epcot Center, risking your children's lives. Don't do that. Be a good parent. I mean, geez, just wait until the vaccines come out. If vaccines don't come out, then go without a family vacation. Like Korean immigrants never take a vacation. When my father, was a senior pastor of First Korean Presbyterian Church, where he was a pastor all his life after immigrating to America. He retired from First Korean Presbyterian Church. Most of the people there never took a family vacation because, they own a dry cleaners, and it's like 365 days a year, except for Sundays when they go to church. So they never took vacations. My church members, most of them have never taken a vacation in their life, since coming to America. And the children haven't taken a vacation. Yeah, so it's like a normal thing for Korean immigrants not to take a vacation. Korean immigrants doing dry cleaners and stuff like that. I mean, geez, yeah, you think like you should go on a vacation every year. That's not how the immigrants experience America, So yeah, I said, don't go on a family vacation this summer. Don't jeopardize your child's life. You're gonna take a vacation? You wanna go to your early grave? Are you an idiot? Don't go on a family vacation that you're not gonna don't increase your chance of getting COVID. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's an idiotic thing to do to increase your chances of getting COVID, because COVID-19 is killing a lot of people. It's killing 1,500 people a day in America. Every day. In 10 days, you're going to have 15,000 people die in America. In 100 days, you're going to have 150,000 Americans die. Do you want to be one of them? And as I said, as America opens up, it's going to go up to 10,000 deaths per day. Just watch. So yesterday we had 98,902 deaths. Today we have 100,396 deaths. The cases are going up relatively the same, around 20,000 cases per day. 6% of all cases are dying. So if 100 people get it, 6 are guaranteed to die. That's because right now you have enough hospital beds. Once hospital beds run out, if you have 100 people get COVID, you may have 20% die. Like 20 out of 100 may die. If you run out of medicine, you may have 50 out of 100 die. You'll see what I mean. I'll remind you when that happens, why that's happening. Okay, so yeah, watch this show every day because, as I said, I'm expecting 30 million Americans to die in the next 2 to 3 years from COVID-19. I don't want you to be one of those 20 to 30 million or more who die. 30 million Americans will die. Like just in America, 30 million US citizens will die. I don't want you to be one of those. So watch this show every day. If I give you an advice, take it. I mean, you don't have to take it, but I'm recommending you take it so you don't die. If you don't take my advice, I'm not surprised if you die, right? Because I'm giving you very good advice. I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of the 21st century, and I'm looking at it from all angles. I'm looking at it from all angles. Healthcare, public health nursing, phlebotomy, Jewish history, social sciences, diplomacy. I'm the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative, GCDI. Sociology, education, science, because I'm a certified science teacher, like I'm a licensed science teacher, right? And so, yeah, I'm looking at it from all angles. So if I tell you not to do X, Y, and Z, you shouldn't do it if you want to live. If you don't listen to me, then you are jeopardizing your life. You're jeopardizing lives of your children. You're free to jeopardize your life. You're free to make the decision to go to eternal damnation in hell by rejecting Jesus Christ. That's your freedom, right? That's your freedom. You could choose to reject Jesus and go to eternal damnation in hell forever, where Satan tortures you for eternity without stopping. It won't end. Kind of like COVID-19 until Jesus comes back. Well, that's what the experts are saying. And so, yeah. Yeah, so listen to my advice if you want to live. That's just my recommendation. Now, today I'm going to talk about something that is going on right now during COVID-19 that is creating serious major problems in Minnesota. And maybe you've seen the news, and it's George Floyd, who was killed by the police. And you see on the left side, desecration of the American flag. Whenever you fly a flag upside down, it's a desecration of the flag. African Americans, there are a lot of people who are patriotic, but there are a lot who believe that American government system is racist against Black people. And as a historian, I agree. There's a lot of discrimination against people of color, not just African Americans, but Asians. And I'm an Asian. I experience discrimination in healthcare, discrimination by nurses, doctors, So, I understand why African Americans and Blacks say that there are institutional discrimination. And, last year, my program, Clinical Nurse Leader Program, we had a class, called Vulnerable Population with Professor Diane Davis, who's one of a leading professor. She just got an honorary title last year at Georgetown University, so I congratulate her. She's a great professor. And in the vulnerable population, we had a discussion about African Americans in healthcare. And one of the things that we talked about, since we're talking about COVID-19, like when Blacks go into hospital, what are they going to experience, right? So it's an issue that I think I should talk about because we talked about it in Professor Diane Davis's class, vulnerable populations. And, my being Asian makes me vulnerable population, right? African Americans are vulnerable population. Hispanic Americans are vulnerable population because there are institutional discrimination against like Asians. So we talked about, how white nurses can discriminate against Black patients or, like Asian patients, Hispanic patients. So even white liberal progressive nurses, and that could happen at two levels, like white, like let's say there's a white female nurse who is voting Democrat all the time, voted for all the Democratic candidates, is considered herself liberal progressive, but she may discriminate against African American, and you saw in the video in Central Park, this dog walking white woman called the police on a black man who asked her to just put a latch on her dog. This thing happens, I think it was last year or 2 years ago at Yale University, a white female student who is, I think, lesbian, uh, white progressive, lesbian, fights for gay rights, pride marches. I think she's lesbian, and she called a police on an African American master's student who was studying for her final exam in the study room during like finals week or midterm week, and she fell asleep on the couch because she was studying and she was sleep deprived, and most people are sleep deprived. And I studied at University of Pennsylvania as an undergraduate, and I slept on the couch all the time during finals week, midterm week. A lot of people do that. They just fall asleep for like 30 minutes, an hour, and then they wake up and they study again. And get this, and that happens in the library, in the classroom. They open up classrooms for study. But this African American master's student at Yale University was in her dormitory. So she was in a common lounge in the dormitory studying. So they're dormitory for graduate students, right? So this white lesbian student, um, I think that's what the article said, called police, campus police on her, and the campus police came in to arrest her for trespassing. And she was, she didn't have her student ID with her because she was in her dormitory. She just happened to study in the study lounge inside her dormitory because, front gates are locked. And she's like, I live here. So she was just like studying in the lounge. And some white student, female student, like Democrat, progressive, white, liberal, progressive Democrat student at Yale, she just called the police on her because she happened to be black. Can you believe that? Like, she didn't ask her, like, are you a student here? She just called the police. Yeah, these things happen at Yale University. This thing probably happens at Georgetown University, like some white liberal lesbian woman calling police on a black female student or Asian male student like me, or black student like Billy. There are three guys in my program. And that's me, Heerak, Christian Kim. I'm the Asian guy. There is Billy. He is the African American guy who went to the U.S. Naval Academy, played football for Naval Academy. So when you see Army and Navy game, he played for Navy. And we have Grant, who's a white guy. So three different races are represented among the three guys. There's only three guys, and then 22 girls. We're graduating with a master's in clinical nurse leader. And Grant is from North Carolina, and he just told us, he's in my clinical group for the summer. He told us that he's in South Carolina. I'm like, what? I mean, everybody's going back to their home state. So Grant went back to South Carolina. I mean, he's from North Carolina, but his girlfriend is from South Carolina, and they plan to get married and they settle down in South Carolina. So his wife, his girlfriend, wife to be, who is an interior decorator, went and found a job in South Carolina because Grant's graduating in the summer. Makes a lot of sense, right? And Grant told me like last year, we talk, when we're in the classrooms and, and socializing, he was telling me he's going to, go to a hospital in South Carolina. So that was his original plan all along. So, so he's in South Carolina, and our clinical nurse professor, one of the major leaders in Sibley Hospital, she was saying, where are you going to find work, Grant? And Grant is like, I'm going to find a nursing job in South Carolina because that's where he's planning to settle down. Right? That makes sense, right? Or Sheila, who's like Indian from Georgia, she's back home in Georgia. She'll probably work as a nurse in a hospital in Georgia, maybe in Atlanta, Emory University Hospital or somewhere, or CDC or whatever. So that's basically what's going to happen. As I said, this is COVID-19. Everybody wants to be near home. They don't want to work in Washington, D.C. because uh, they know that their parents can die from COVID anytime. Like they could die next week from COVID. So if you like working as a nurse in Washington, D.C., and your parents get COVID next week, and let's say you are like far away, like your parents are far away, you're probably not going to see them before they die. And no nursing student who's graduating in 2020 really wants that experience. I mean, I could drive to Delaware in 2, 3 hours and I'm there. So if I need to see my mom, my dad, my sister, I could just drive there. I'm there in 2 to 3 hours. So I have no problem getting a job in Washington, D.C. And I want to stay here in Washington, D.C. Obviously, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. I'm planning to win in November 3rd, 2020. So so I'm, applying for nursing jobs here, and I need money to run the campaign. Right? I'm not rich, so I'm like you. I have to work to make money to survive. So I work as a nurse while running my campaign, and then hopefully I win in November 3rd, 2020. I believe in the system. I believe in American electoral system, election system. So a little guy like me who has to work to pay for food and rent or whatever, you know, can win U.S. Congress. I believe that this is America and that's possible, right? That Don Barr is a multimillionaire. The little guy like me can beat Don Barr because I'm better than him as a leader. As you can see, I'm here trying to save your life. Where's Don Barr? I don't see him anywhere. And so, I'm just a better leader for Virginia's 8th District. So, yeah, I'm not a millionaire. I'm poor compared to Don Barr. Obviously, I had to borrow $200,000 for my Georgetown University master's degree from School of Nursing and Health Study as a clinical nurse leader. Don Barr could just write a check and he won't even feel it because he's so rich. But I believe in an America where a little guy like me who has to work to survive. I mean, I want to save lives anyway, so that's fine. But like I still have to work, whether I like it or not, to survive. Little guy like me can beat a multimillionaire, multi-billionaire, multimillionaire like Don Barr. And I believe in an America like that. And I hope you believe in America like that too. Unfortunately, like Don Barr and Virginia Governor Northam are trying to block me out of Virginia's ballot box. I mean, geez, I told you, white liberal progressives are the worst racists. They just don't play fair and they're trying to like block out Asians, blacks, Hispanics, from positions of leadership. Yeah, they're going to give you a handout, but they want you to be like at the bottom. They don't want you to be at the top. This is like white liberal Democrats. Like they don't want Hispanics to be like at the top. They're going to do everything they can to block out Hispanics, people from Bolivia, Colombia, Peru. They don't want you to be at the top. They just want you to be at the bottom. So they're going to make sure you're going to be at the bottom. But when you try to get to the top, they're going to try to block you up. If you're Hispanic or if you're black or if you're Asian like me. And that's why they don't want me on the ballot box on November 3rd, because Don Barr knows I can beat him because I'm good. So he has to play dirty, right? He doesn't want to see an Asian man become a U.S. Congressman in Virginia's 8th District, right? He wants to just like maintain white power. So the Democrat Don Barr and the Democrat Virginia Governor Northam, these white progressives who are like, they don't want to see an Asian becoming a congressman in Virginia's 8th District. They're going to fight to put my name out of the ballot box because they've been watching me since November when I started running for U.S. Congress and campaigning for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, and they know I could beat Don Barr. So that's why they're playing dirty. So when I went independent in March, I had to collect 1,000 signatures to be on the Virginia's state ballot because Virginia state has its own election laws that's governed by Virginia state laws. And by Virginia laws, I have to collect 1,000 signatures as an independent candidate to be on the ballot for U.S. Congress in November. So I was running as a Republican. Republicans, they have a convention, meaning you don't even have to collect one signature, and if you register to be a candidate, then you don't need even one signature. you go to the convention, which is on May 30th, and then the convention delegates choose you, and delegates are basically members of the Republican Party in Arlington, Alexandria Falls Church, and Fairfax County, who go and they vote for you. And then right now, Jeff Jordan is running against Mark Elmore, and they're both my friends, you know. And so yeah, so they didn't have to collect any signatures. So originally, I was running as a Republican, Republican candidate, and I wouldn't have had to collect any signatures, right? Because there's Republicans have a convention. It was like the last time, 2 years ago, and so, we all know what the game is in the Republican Party, and so we didn't have to collect any signatures for the convention, and then by June 9th, we have to, if you're independent, and I became independent in March. If you become independent, you have to submit 1,000 signatures. So I became independent in March. So Don Beyer is watching me. Ralph Northam is following me, right? Because they're Democrats. Virginia history is very important. So as soon as I became independent, and they got this information, they played dirty politics to close down Virginia, 8th District, all of Virginia, from March 30th to June 10th. So I can't collect any signatures. They made it legally impossible for me to collect signatures. I could get arrested if I go door to door knocking on the door to get signatures, because that's violating stay-at-home order. So I wrote to Virginia Board of Elections to get a waiver on the 1,000 signatures, because it's legally impossible. It's practically impossible for me to do this. And commissioner understands that. So he wrote back and said, oh, I can't grant this waiver. You could read between the lines. He wants to give me a waiver, but he can't. He doesn't have the legal authority to do that. So I wrote to Virginia Governor Northam to give me a waiver. And he hasn't written back yet, because he's playing dirty politics. He's trying to block me out of the ballot box. June 9th is the deadline by which I have to submit 1,000 signatures. He needs to write back to me and give me a waiver. So every one of you should write to Virginia Governor Northam, write to Don Beyer and say, don't play dirty politics. We don't want dirty politics in Virginia, and write to them, because it's there. I told you, white Democrats are the most racist. In my life, the greatest amount of racism I've experienced are by white Democrat women, white progressive women, mostly, but some white progressive men. And they're like racist. I mean, if you're Asian, Hispanic, or Black, especially if you're an evangelical Christian or a practicing Catholic, I guarantee you, people who will block you from anything, jobs, promotions, any kind of positive thing, it'll be a white, liberal, progressive woman. Yeah, they're like really, really discriminatory. I mean, they don't want any Asians, Blacks, and Hispanics who are evangelical Christians to get jobs or rise in society. Yeah, they'll do everything they can to block you from progress. White, liberal, progressive women. And so that's why I'm not surprised that these white, liberal, progressive nurses often treat Black patients with discrimination. And a lot of Black patients, they say they mistrust the hospital system. They mistrust white nurses. And, I'm not surprised, because as I said, the greatest amount of discrimination and racism I experienced were by white, liberal, progressive, Democrat voting, like liberals, like nurses. That's the greatest discrimination I've experienced. So I'm sure that's the same with others who are Black, Hispanic, or Asian, who are evangelical Christians or practicing Catholics. Yeah, I'm 100% positive. And so, so we see in Minnesota, which is a Democratic state with a lot of white liberal Democrats, progressives, and I'm not surprised that they're experiencing all this discrimination by white progressives in Minnesota. Because as I said, white progressive Democrats are the greatest racists in my book. In my research and my experience, my observation, that's been the case. Yeah. So Yeah, they talk a lot about political correctness, but they talk the talk, but in practice they discriminate. And some people say it's like implicit bias. They don't know they're discriminating, and they try to use rationalization in mental health nursing. We call it rationalization. So they just try to justify their discrimination. Like, why should we block him from a job? Like a black person or Asian person, they rationalize. So they use prejudice and discrimination. They try to block you from a job, or block you from like progress or promotion, right? And then they use rationalization to justify their discrimination or prejudicial act. Yeah, that's what white Democrats do. I've seen a lot of white women do that. White women who are feminists, white women who are lesbians, white women who are like liberal progressive. I've seen it. I've experienced it myself. I've seen it. Seen them treat like Hispanic males, Hispanic females, black males, black females. Yeah, I've seen. I could give you case after case, example after examples. Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I think the greatest racist, discriminatory people in America are white Democrat women, especially lesbian women who are feminists. They will mistreat you just because you're an evangelical Christian. Yeah. So you should expect that. I mean, you see that, you experience it. So and Minnesota probably has a lot of them. So I'm not surprised that there's all this mistreatment of black people in Minnesota. All these white Democrat women who are feminists or lesbians are probably mistreating Democrats. I mean, or mistreating black people. And I see that all the time. And so the protesters are clashing with the police. And so they're calling for justice for George Floyd. You see the black women there saying, "This is my son." Black community is one of the most homophobic communities in America. They hate homosexuals, like black communities. Uh, and I told you, like, when I went to AME Church, African Methodist Episcopal Church in San Francisco, they spend 1 hour 30 minutes of Bible study talking about why homosexuality is evil, why homosexuals are evil, because they're afraid that their people in their community will become gay or homosexual. So a lot of the churches teach that, and obviously the Bible, Romans 1, is anti-homosexuality, anti-gay marriage. So the first AME church in San Francisco was teaching the Bible. So obviously, that's the official position of the Vatican Church. That's the official position of evangelical Christian denominations, Assemblies of God, Southern Baptist Convention, Presbyterian Church in America, Orthodox Presbyterian Church, Nazarenes, Church of God in Christ, So, I mean, it's now no surprise, like majority of the 300 million American Christians are anti-homosexuality, anti-gay marriage, abortion, that's just the way people are. This is America. It's Christian America. So, yeah, but Minnesota is a democratic state, and they have a lot of these feminists, lesbian types, and so yeah, and so I'm not surprised that like this mistreatment of black people are happening in Minnesota. I'm not surprised because, as I said, white liberal progressive women are the greatest discriminatory people who will mistreat Asian men, Asian women, Hispanic men, Hispanic women, black men, black women who follow the Bible, and they're going to rationalize. It's an official, technical nursing term, rationalization. They're going to justify why they're mistreating an Asian man or Asian woman or Hispanic man or Hispanic woman, black men or black women. Yeah, it's terrible. So, as you can see, unconscious bias in healthcare, you see all these white people. That's like a thing. Yeah, I mean, it's like a thing. Like these card-carrying Democrat, white progressive feminist women nurses mistreating Asian men, Asian women, black men, black women, Hispanic men, Hispanic women in the hospitals. Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, that's an official thing we talk about in nursing classes, unconscious bias in healthcare. Yeah, we talked about it in our vulnerable populations class with Professor Diana Davis, how black people are mistreated by like white nurses. So that's a thing. I mean, it's happening everywhere in America. So, and we're talking about, white feminist, sometimes lesbian, democratic, progressive nurses mistreating black patients. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a thing. It's like I would say it's a fact. It's happening in America that these white liberal feminist nurses mistreat black people in hospitals. It's a thing. It's an established fact that everybody talks about when we talk about vulnerable population. So next time you hear vulnerable population, just remember what I said. White feminists, sometimes white lesbian nurses mistreating black patients just because they're black. That happens in hospitals all across America. Yeah. So don't think like feminists are like righteous. They talk about social justice, but when it comes to real people, they mistreat them. They try to block black men from jobs, black male nurses from jobs. This is what they do. These white feminists, white lesbian nurses. Yeah. I mean, they just want to destroy people of color. And so, as I said, that's I could concretely support this with evidence. After evidence, and it's an established fact in the healthcare profession, unconscious bias in healthcare, uh, meaning like white people mistreating like black people, like white nurses mistreating black patients. It's a thing. Yeah. So I would say, Black Lives Matter. And as you know, I support Black nationalist movement. I think people have the right to be Black nationalists, like Black Lives Matter, or white nationalists. Asian nationalists, Hispanic nationalists. I think everybody has the right to be proud of their culture, their nation, their ethnicity. But I don't think anybody has the right to mistreat people, like prevent black people from getting a job, prevent Hispanics from getting a job, prevent Asians from getting a job. And you can't use rationalization to justify your unconscious bias in healthcare to do that. That's what I'm saying. And you have a lot of examples of that. As you know, I applied for nursing positions at Virginia Hospital Center and Georgetown, MedStar Georgetown University Hospital. I expect feminist nurses to discriminate against me when I apply for jobs. I expect it. And I'll share with you, as I experience discrimination, you'll find out about it, but I expect it because I've taken a class with Professor Diane Davis about unconscious bias in healthcare. So I know white nurses are racist. Not all of them, some of them, and some of them are hiring, and they don't want to see like a black male nurse like Billy on the floor, so they're not going to hire him, or me like an Asian nurse on the floor, so they're not going to hire me. So this is very real. It's not. It's a established fact. And so Billy, who's black male, and me, Heerak Christian Kim, who's an Asian male, we are vulnerable populations. And obviously we're minorities in the nursing world because the majority of the nurses are white female. So, we're minorities. Billy and me. So we're going to be discriminated against in the hiring process. I mean, I'm sure Billy expected. I expected to be discriminated against in the hiring process for hospital to be a nurse. I'm sure Billy expects it too because we both took the class, vulnerable populations, unconscious bias in healthcare. So we know there are white female nurses who are racist and discriminatory against black people and Asian people. Billy's black and I'm Asian. So we expect it, we talked about it, for like hours, discrimination in healthcare. So, it's an established fact. There are articles and after articles on the topic. You could just Google it, and so, yeah, so this event with George Floyd is just one example of how white liberal Democrats, and Minnesota is a very liberal state, right? Uh, you know, uh, you know, yeah, they're not, they're not, free from, they're not righteous. They say they're righteous. They're not. I mean, as I said, white liberal Democrats are the greatest racists, especially white liberal Democrat women. Progressive women are the greatest racists in America. Yeah. They're the worst people who try to block Hispanic men, Hispanic women, black men, black women, Asian men, Asian women from jobs. So yeah. Um, and today I have top COVID-19 cases in the world. And United States, America is number one with 1,699,073 cases. And we have 100,396 deaths. So 6% of all cases end in death. And look at Brazil. Brazil just like sprinted up, and now it's number two with 411,000 cases and 821. 411,821 cases, and their death rate is at 25,598 deaths. 6% of all cases. Do you remember when they used to be only like a few thousand? Yeah, in one of my episodes, I did the top five in Latin America. You know why Brazil sprinted up? Because it kept the country open. This is what I'm saying. As 50 states open up, we're going to have 10,000 people die per day. Brazil is a far smaller country than ours. There's like over 1,000 dying per day. Yeah, our country, we're going to have 10,000 people die per day this summer. Just watch. Because COVID-19 kills. And it doesn't kill in every country. Like I showed you in Asia, it's not killing anybody. In Africa, it's not killing anybody. In Eastern Europe, it's not killing anybody. Middle East, it's not killing anybody. But United States and United States ally countries like Brazil and Western European countries is killing a lot of people. And that's why I said COVID-19 is a biological weapon created by China to kill people in United States and in America's ally countries like Brazil, England, France, Spain, Italy. So it's doing its work as a biological weapon. It's because you could genetically modify a virus to target certain genetic composition. So obviously it's a weapon that's targeting smart bomb, that's targeting smart virus, that's targeting United States and our allies. Russia is number three, 370,680 cases, and they only have 3,968 deaths, 1% of cases. Obviously, even in our countries which are our enemy countries, they may have people who have genetic composition that are similar to the composition that is predominant in America or Europe or in Brazil, So that's something that could be a problem for some people. But obviously it's a smart bomb, so it's trying to target majority people in America, and our allies, Brazil and Western Europe. United Kingdom is number four at 268,619 cases. And deaths are 37,542 deaths. 14% of all cases end up in death. Something United Kingdom is not doing right. So many people who have confirmed cases are dying. Something seriously wrong in United Kingdom. Spain has 236,259 cases and 27,117 deaths. So 11% of cases are ending up in death. So Spain is not doing something right either, because Brazil and United States, only 6% are ending up in death. So yeah, so that's something you have to look at. Yeah, today I want to share something from the past. I was invited to deliver a paper at what is considered to be the greatest conference on the Old Testament in the world. This conference meets 3 times a year, and you have to be invited to come to present your paper. And the year that I went, I think the Crown Prince of Japan was there, because he's an expert in European languages and cultures. That's what he studied. So he has, he tries to come to these important conferences, and there are a lot of royalty and nobility from around the world. So it's 2013 International Organization for the Study of Old Testament Conference, and it was in Munich, Germany, at the University of Germany, the University of Munich. And I think the former name is Ludwig Maximilian Universität München. So Yeah, LMU, Ludwig Maximilian Universität München. So yeah, so this conference is so important. The most important leader of the German Lutheran Church, Archbishop of Bavaria, was there welcoming us, and he threw a party for us. And the Archbishop or Cardinal of Bavaria, and the Catholic Church were there because Bavaria is mostly Catholic, but you also have Lutherans because Germany you have Catholics and Lutherans. So the leaders of both churches in Bavaria, and Munich is in the state of Bavaria, and Bavaria has a prince as well, royalty as well, and nobles. But anyway, so you see there on the large picture on the left, you have the top leader in the German Lutheran Church in Bavaria, Archbishop, kind of welcoming us and addressing us and kind of throwing us a party, a great party, a lot of good German type meat products. And you see scholars from all over the world who were invited to come came. And I I try to encourage and help third world scholars, from India, from Pakistan, from Kenya, Nigeria. So, I befriend them. So you see, I have photos taken with Old Testament scholars teaching in like third world countries. Obviously, I have a lot of friends in the first world countries as well, but someone has to kind of encourage, third world theologians and scholars. So I try to do that. Yeah. And so, as you know, I'm an adjunct professor of a Christian university in India. So, I have a heart for India. I have heart for the third world, and so one of the things that I want to do, and one of the reasons why I went into nursing, and I guess I should explain this to you because, I'm one of the world's leading theologians, who's respected. That's why I was invited in 2013 to the greatest conference on the Old Testament. I don't think Georgetown University's professor in Old Testament was invited. Yeah, so you see how hard it is to get invited. But yeah, but I was invited. Yeah. So, yeah. So, why would I do nursing? Right? Some of you may ask, why would this amazing theologian who's respected around the world, has established himself as one of the leading academics in the world, why would he want to do nursing? You may be asking me that. And I told you I want to save lives. And that's true. And that's why, I applied to Virginia Hospital Center, although I expect discrimination by liberal, female, lesbian, feminist type nurses, because as I said, they're the greatest racists in America. And so, I'm sure I'm going to have trouble getting, position at Virginia Hospital Center because of these liberal, feminist, lesbian types who are nurses. But, and, I'll share with you my experience, applying for nursing jobs, so you can be, you can follow with me in my experience being discriminated by feminists and lesbians who are nurses. Yeah. So, yeah. So, but anyway, I went into nursing because, my father went around founding a lot of seminaries and Presbyterian denominations. So many of them, my father also founded a lot of colleges too. And so he's now in the process of founding colleges in Nepal, Christian colleges and Christian seminaries in Nepal, Sri Lanka, in Asia, and also in Latin America, in Peru, Bolivia, maybe Ecuador as well, and Brazil. And so, like in indigenous area of Brazil. And so, yeah, and they grow. Some of them start small, but some of them come to have like thousands of students. And so one of the things that I want to do, and I want to do nursing eventually to support the Christian church, And so I want to get experience, obviously, first before going full force with that. That's why I applied for Virginia Hospital Center and Georgetown MedStar Hospital. So I'll probably work within the context of Christian church. So what I'm planning to do is found hospitals um, that is tied to the college, that is part of the Presbyterian Church of Nepal, Presbyterian Church of India, Presbyterian Church of Sri Lanka, uh, Presbyterian Church of Sierra Leone that my cousin is working on, has worked on. And so we'll found hospitals and we will have nursing training programs in the hospitals, but we want to also create nursing schools. And so I would take the lead in creating these nursing schools throughout the third world. So obviously I need to know the in and outs of how hospitals work. And that's why I went into clinical nurse leader program. So I become leader of nurses because I will be going to every country where my father founded seminaries, with his friends, and I'll be founding nursing schools. And unlike Reverend Franklin Graham, and I don't really respect him as much as I respect Billy Graham because I think Billy Graham was gospel centered. Like he wanted to convert people to Christ, but I'm not convinced that Reverend Franklin Graham is. Because like when he went to New York to help COVID patients, I haven't heard any story about him sharing the gospel with anybody. So I don't know how dedicated he is to the spreading of the gospel. Because, what's the point of Samaritan Purse if it doesn't convert people to Christianity, right? I mean, it's a church-based, Christian-based organization, right? If it's just providing healthcare, then there's no point. Because we have a lot of organizations that are secular that just provide healthcare. So if Samaritan Purse doesn't share the gospel, then you shouldn't give money to Samaritan Purse. That's how I feel. Because you should give money to organizations that share the gospel while providing nursing services, right? If you're Christian and you want to support gospel missions. So if you can send money to my nursing schools, when I start founding it instead, because obviously the Christian colleges are dedicated to converting people from Hinduism and Islam in India, which is the mission of the Presbyterian denomination of India, right? That my father helped to found with his friends. So the whole point of them is to convert Hindus and Muslims to Christianity. That's why the Christian college exists. So when I found a nursing school attached to the Christian college, all the nurses will have to sign a document saying they support the mission of the Presbyterian Church of India. Like they won't, because this is a Christian denominational college. Every single one of them have to sign a document saying we hold to the Presbyterian Church of India positions. So the nursing school that I will create, every single student, every single faculty have to sign a document saying we support the mission of the Presbyterian Church of India, right? And so because it's a church-based nursing school, every nursing professor will have to sign that document respecting the Presbyterian Church of India, which is the denomination, and the college is a denomination. It's like Georgetown is a Catholic university. Georgetown University Nursing School is a Catholic nursing school, right? So it's kind of like that, but it's going to be Presbyterian Church of India. So every student, every professor will have to sign a document saying we honor the official position of Presbyterian Church of India. Because the purpose of founding these nursing schools is to advance the gospel in India, right? So I will find a nursing school with Presbyterian, like the name may be different, but Presbyterian College in Nepal that my father found. So Presbyterian College of Sri Lanka that my father founds with his friends. And then it'll be the same. You'll be attached to the Presbyterian Church of Nepal, Presbyterian Church of Sri Lanka. So their priority will be Christian gospel. So they will exist to support the Christian work uh, of um, of the denomination. So they'll be supporting, so there'll be gospel sharing. There'll be a chaplain in the hospital who shares the Christian gospel from that perspective, right? So, and the people who donate money to the nursing school of the Presbyterian College of Nepal or Sri Lanka know that their money is going for gospel work to produce Christian nurses who are going to share the gospel while providing nursing care. All right, it's a religious-based hospital that is private. That its primary goal is to spread the gospel. So those are the hospitals that will be in Nepal and India. So I mean, if they don't want that, they can go to other hospitals. It's like Catholic hospitals in America do not perform abortions because it's against the Catholic faith, right? And so that's like our hospital. We're not going to be performing abortions. Yeah, because it's meant to be a nursing school tied to the church, right? Like Fairfield University is a Catholic university in Connecticut. Its nursing school is supposed to support the mission of the Catholic faith, right? Because Fairfield University is Jesuit university, and as a Catholic university, it exists to expand the Catholic faith. That's its primary goal. So my work will be through the Presbyterian seminaries and colleges that my father founded to advance the Christian faith according to that denominational creed. So that's, and I've shared this with, Professor, the chairman of our department, Odiuma Irmud, and other professors that I have had at Georgetown ask, why did you go into nursing? And I've been honest from the very beginning. I said, I'm going into nursing because I want to ultimately work in either inner city America, like because Black Christians are evangelical Christians, right? Hispanic Christians are evangelical Christians or conservative Catholics. So I want to work in inner city communities in America, poor communities or rural America. It's like they're like Baptist or Assemblies of God. They're all like evangelical or in rural America or, with very conservative Catholic. So I said I want to work in inner city or rural America and third world countries as a nurse, kind of tied to a church. I've been completely honest with this since the very beginning of my nursing education at Georgetown University. Every time I was asked by chairwoman of our department, Dilma Earwood, or several professors have asked us to write articles or personal statements. I've always been totally honest about that. Christian faith is important to me. I'm at a Catholic university, Georgetown University, whose official position is against gay marriage, against homosexuality. Right? That's the Vatican position. That's the official position of the Jesuits. That's the official position of Catholic Church. Diocese of Arlington, that's the official position. Archdiocese of DC, that's the official position. So I feel very comfortable at Georgetown holding to the official position that I agree with, official Catholic positions that I agree with against gay marriage, against homosexuality, and against abortion. Right? So there's no reason for me to hide that because that's the official position of the Catholic Church. That's the official position of Georgetown University and, Catholic University of America, Marymount University in Arlington. That's the official position. I don't need to hide that, right? Because I'm just subscribing to the official position of the schools. In Catholic Church, Archdiocese of DC, Diocese of Arlington. So all the Jesuits around the world, the official Vatican position. So so I've been very honest and open from the very beginning about my Christian faith, why I'm in nursing, what I want to do with nursing, and obviously, when I work with, when I start my own organizations in inner city and rural America, they'll be tied to a church, whether that's tied to the Korean Presbyterian Church in America, Southern Baptist Convention, Catholic Church, I'm going to tie it to a Christian church that follows the Bible. You know, so I don't support like, I mean, you can do what you want, but what I want for myself is ultimately when I start my own thing, I want it to be tied to the Southern Baptist Convention, Assemblies of God, the Catholic Church, um, Nazarenes, Presbyterian Church in America, which follows the Bible, so that my whatever organization I create will support advancement of gospel in America or in third world countries. That's what I want to do. That's like my long-term goal. But in order to start my own thing, obviously I need to gain training and experience. That's why I applied to Virginia Hospital Center. That's why I applied to Georgetown Master Hospital. Well, Georgetown Master Hospital is I think it's a Catholic hospital. So, I mean, that's like, I mean, for me, I think that's great because I agree with Catholic position on abortion and gay marriage and homosexuality. So for me, I mean, I would love to work for a Catholic hospital, you know, uh, um, because, I'll be helping the Catholic Church advance its mission, spreading the gospel. So, yeah, so anyway, yeah. But anyway, like in these academic conferences, and I presented my paper on Jewish studies, like Old Testament and how it is interpreted in Jewish communities in the late Second Temple period to a bunch of theologians around the world. There are only 12 million Jews in the world. There's 6 million Jews in America. And most of the Jews are like in the business world. They're not in Jewish studies or Old Testament studies. So most people around the world who teach Jewish studies and Old Testament are Christians, and many of them are Christian clergy. See, that's what a lot of Jews in America don't know. Jewish studies is controlled by Christian clergy, Christian pastors, because Jews generally don't go into that field. See, that's what Jews in America don't understand. We control your destiny in terms of scholarship and intellectual discourse around the world. Because you just don't have the numbers. You only have 12 million people around the world. Now, unless all 12 million of you go into Jewish studies, there's no way you're going to dominate Jewish studies as a field. I would say less than 2% of Jewish studies is occupied by Jews around the world. Let's think about this. Every Christian college that my dad creates around the world will teach Jewish studies. The texts are the same, Old Testament, documents. And they'll be taught by, in the Presbyterian College of Nepal, it'll be taught by a Presbyterian minister who's Nepalese. Presbyterian College of Sri Lanka will be taught by a Presbyterian pastor who's Sri Lankan. Presbyterian College in Sierra Leone, the Jewish Studies course will be taught by Presbyterian pastor, clergy, maybe someone who my cousin Reverend Yun converted in Sierra Leone to Christianity from like indigenous religions. Do you see what I'm saying? In every country. Now, how many Jews are there? I mean, can you even put people in these countries? You can't. That's why Jewish studies will always be dominated by Christian pastors. And it'll be very pro-Christian. And so Jews have no power in the world. Do you see what I'm saying? See, I go to these conferences, International Organization for the Study of Old Testament Conference, where all the leading intellectuals around the world in Jewish studies come. And that's why I know Jews have no power in the world. Jews don't even control Jewish studies. Christian pastors control Jewish studies around the world. In America, too, Jewish studies is controlled by Christian pastors of all different denominations. You know how many Southern Baptist seminaries there are? Every one of these Southern Baptist seminaries teach Jewish studies. As I told you, my friend who did PhD in, at UCLA with me is now a professor of New Testament at Talbot Theological Seminary in California, which is attached to Biola University in Orange County. he's published book in Cambridge University Press, and he writes books on Jewish studies as well. Although he primarily identifies himself as a New Testament scholar, but all New Testament scholars do Jewish studies because they have to know the Jewish world to study the New Testament. So they publish on Jewish studies as well, although they may not primarily consider themselves as Jewish studies experts. They are Jewish studies experts because they have to know the context of New Testament, which is the Jewish world. And so they publish in Jewish studies journals, present papers on Jewish studies. Joe Hellerman is a good example of someone who teaches New Testament as a New Testament professor at a Baptist seminary, Talbot Theological Seminary, which is attached to Biola University in La Mirada in Orange County, California. And every single Baptist seminary is like this. I mean, how are Jews going to even persuade Jewish studies to go in the direction that they want when they don't even have representation in their own? Like, Jewish studies is controlled by Christians around the world. Jews have no control over Jewish studies. See how weak Jews are? Jews are so irrelevant in society, it's not even funny. Yeah, I go to like all these Jewish studies expertise conference, right? Jews are at 100% mercy of Christian scholars. If Christian scholars wanted to like block out Jewish scholars, they'll be blocked out, like in a matter of days. And Jewish scholars know this because they go to these conferences with me. Like, when I went there, there were world's greatest, Jewish studies experts were there too, presenting their paper. So like out of all the scholars, there's like less than 5% who are Jews, like 95% are Christians. Yeah, it's like that. Jewish studies is controlled by Christian scholars, specifically Christian pastors. Because like most of these seminaries where people teach, they're ordained pastors, right? Because these seminaries, like, Joe Hellerman is a pastor in the Baptist Church, Southern Baptist Convention. He's training pastors. So like Baptist seminaries want people who are pastors to train the pastors. And Joe's been an assistant pastor or associate pastor of a big Baptist church, and I think it's Hermosa Beach. Even when he was doing his PhD at UCLA, he was a associate pastor at that church. So he does pastoral work even now. He's on staff. And he's like every other Jewish studies expert, teaching in like Baptist seminary in America. Jewish studies in America is controlled by Christians, not controlled by Jews. And Jews know this. Jews know that Jewish studies is not controlled by Jews in America. They don't have the numbers. It's a numbers game. There's only 6 million Jews in America. That's like what, less than 2% of America. How are they going to control anything? Nothing. Jews cannot control anything in America because they don't have the numbers. And so, I go to Jewish Studies Conference and I see this. So I understand this, and that's why I don't understand anybody any Christian who converts to Judaism to marry a Jew like Ivanka Trump. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. Because Jews have no power in America. In real terms, they have no power. President Donald Trump knows this. He knows that Jews have no power. You think President Trump is stupid? What do you think when he ran in 2016, he says, I will bring Christmas back. Who do you think is objecting to Christmas? Do you think Christians are objecting to Christmas? We don't even have Muslims in America. There aren't that many Muslims, and they don't care. They don't care if you say Merry Christmas. Because Muslims see Jesus as a prophet. So they have no problem with celebrating Christmas because Jesus is a prophet in the Muslim tradition. Only people in America who has problem with Christmas are Jews. Do you think Buddhists care if you celebrate Christmas? They don't care. Because Buddhists don't care about anything. They're like, you could do whatever you want. Hindus, do you think care? Jesus is one of the gods in the Hindu pantheon. They don't care if you celebrate Christmas. Only people in America who cares if you celebrate Christmas, who's offended if you say Merry Christmas, are Jews. Muslims are not offended if you say Merry Christmas to them, because Jesus is a prophet. They may not personally like make a big deal out of it, but Jesus is an official prophet in the Islam tradition. Hindus consider Jesus a god. So you can say Merry Christmas, I don't care. He's just one of the gods that they worship. Obviously, Presbyterian Church of India want to say that Jesus is the only true God. But I'm saying Hindus in India, they have no problem celebrating Jesus Christ as God because it's a polytheistic religion, right? So they have no problem if you say Merry Christmas to them. No Hindus have problem if you say Merry Christmas. They don't care. They'll say Merry Christmas back to you. They don't care. Buddhists don't care. Only people who care if you say Merry Christmas is Jews. That's why when President Trump ran and said, you will be proud to say Merry Christmas again, he was targeting the Jews. Of course. I mean, geez, they're the only religious group in America who cares if you say Merry Christmas. Right? They're the ones who are trying to tell you to say Happy Holidays. Muslims don't care if you say Merry Christmas. Hindus don't care if you say Merry Christmas. Buddhists don't care if you say Merry Christmas. No other religion cares if you say Merry Christmas. They'll say Merry Christmas back to you. Only religion that cares if you say Merry Christmas are the Jews. They are trying to force you to say Happy Holidays, right? So when President Trump said, I will bring Christmas back, he was targeting the Jews. And American people loved him for that. What does that tell you? I'm just pointing out the facts. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I am just discussing what actually happened. So don't get all hypersensitive, now. I know Jews tend to be hypersensitive about everything. But, don't get all hypersensitive. I'm just describing what happened in 2016 election. President Trump said, I will bring Christmas back. Did he not say that? So don't get all hypersensitive on me. So I'm just describing what President Trump said. And American people loved him saying that. Am I not telling the truth? Don't get all hypersensitive on me. I'm just describing the facts. And did President Trump not win on that platform? You will be able to say Merry Christmas again? What does that tell you about America? It is a Christian America, whether you like it or not. That's what that tells you. That's what that tells you. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm glad that I was able to share some of that. And you see photos of my colleagues who are leading Old Testament scholars around the world. Most of them are pastors of this church or that church, but theologians, because that's what they do. Jewish studies is generally done by Christian theologians. And you see Papa Smurf there at Hauptbahnhof, and you see H8U Hauptbahnhof in Munich. And then I saw a lovely couple dancing barefoot in a pagoda type of building in Munich. So I took a photo of that because, I'm like a hopeless romantic, I guess, and I'm just praying to God that he'll send me some good Christian person to marry. It could be a Jew who converted to Christianity, or a Muslim who converted to Christianity, Hindu who converted to Christianity. You're a Christian if you accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. That's what you have to do. Doesn't matter what religion you were before, right? You could have been Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist. Most of the Christians in my dad's church were Buddhists who converted to Christianity after coming to America. Yeah, their whole family in Korea are Buddhists still, right? So I think my dad was saying 60 to 70% of my dad's church members were former Buddhists who converted in America to Christianity through the mission of my dad's church. Korean Buddhists, and so, yeah, it doesn't matter if you've been Buddhist in the past, Muslim in the past, Hindu in the past. If you convert to Christianity, you're Christian, or Jewish person in the past. I love Jews. I love to marry a Jewish Christian. I can't marry a Jew who's not a Christian. I can't marry a Hindu who's not a Christian. I can't marry a Muslim who's not a Christian. Because, Bible says don't be unequally yoked. I can only marry a Christian. So if you were like a Hindu, Muslim, Buddhist, or Jewish last year, but converted to Christianity and been a Christian for 1 year and you truly love Jesus, you've been baptized and you're like member of a Christian church, I have no problem marrying you because you're a Christian. So that's what Christianity, is about. You know, St. Paul used to go and kill Christians in the name of Judaism before he converted. And on the road to Emmaus, he saw this shining bright light. And Jesus said, why are you persecuting me? And St. Paul converted. And he rose to be the Pope, basically the Pope of the Christian church, like the top person in the Christian church. And he used to go around killing Christians in the name of Judaism. He was like an assassin for the Jewish religion, for Jews who converted to Christianity. He was going around killing Jews who converted to Christianity. And then he became what? The greatest missionary of Christianity. That is the saving power of Jesus Christ. He can transform your life like that. There was a pastor named Ik Kim, and he was the greatest gangster in Korea. And you talk to Korean Christian pastors, they know Ik Kim, Reverend Ik Kim. He was the #1 gangster in Korea. And he converted to Christianity. And his sermons were like gangster style. Have you seen, like, if you go to like inner city churches, you have like former gang members who converted to Christianity who become pastors, who used to be like, drug dealers and stuff, who converted to Christianity who became pastors, and they're fighting that system. Inner city is an interesting place, and they have these tattoos, these Christian pastors, Assemblies of God or Baptist pastors who used to be gang members, and they're like all these, tattoos, and they're like big and scary looking, but they love Jesus. But when you hear them preach, they kind of preach like gangster style, And I guess people in the inner city, in the neighborhood, could like relate to them, because they're like, because he's from that community, he converted to Christianity, and he used to be a gangster in the community. Now he's a Christian pastor in the community, and you see that all over the inner city communities in America. And Ik Kim was like the gangster guy. So the very first thing he did is he forced every single member of his gang to convert to Christianity. He's a gangster. What do you expect? He used that style. So all his deputies, and they're loyal to him, and they're like, you all want to be Christians now. And they're like, okay. And then they got baptized. Whether they're truly Christian or not, only Jesus knows, right? Who knows, right? But they converted to Christianity. And that's how the church formed, and they started spreading the gospel, and a lot of people converted because of him. And his message was, believe Jesus or go to hell. He only had an elementary education. He was a gang member since elementary school. He started early, rose to the top of the gang chain. So his preaching was very like simple. You don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell. That's all he preached, and people converted left and right. Ik Kim, yeah. And so so it's you have story after story. Obviously it's hard to find story like St. Paul, because he actually used to kill Christians. He was there when St. Stephen was stoned to death by Jewish religious leaders, Sanhedrin leaders, So he supported the Jewish religion, Orthodox Jewish religion, faith, persecuting and killing Christians at that time in the first century. So Orthodox Jews were killing Christians in the first century. But yeah, I don't understand any Christian who converts to Judaism to marry a Jew. I just don't understand it, because why would you do that? I don't know. I'd say I would love to ask Ivanka, when I see her, and and if we're alone, it's hard to ask, private questions like that in public. But yeah, I just want to know what went through her mind. I just don't understand Christians who convert to Judaism. I just don't understand it. Yeah. But anyway, yesterday's show I talked about Anson Rainey, Reverend Anson Rainey, who was a Southern Baptist preacher who loved Israel and converted to Judaism, or because he loved Israel so much. This is why I'm highly suspicious of people who love Israel. Like, I love Israel too. I love Israel. I lived in Israel. But like, I'm not gonna defend the Jewish faith at the jeopardy of Christian faith. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I love Israel, but Jesus Christ is God. When my Jewish friends in Israel ask me, "Do you think I will go to hell because I'm Jewish?" and I said, "Well, I hate to tell you, but I believe in the New Testament, and it says, you got the only way to salvation is through Jesus. So yeah, I believe you will go to hell." I mean, I never lied to my Jewish friends in Israel. And I'm sure their feelings were hurt, but I'm not going to lie to them. If they ask me point blank, "Do you think I'm going to go to hell?" I'm going to tell them, "Yeah, you're going to go to hell." I mean, I'll be tactful about it, and I tried to convert them to Christianity, obviously, by sharing the gospel. But um, yeah, and that's why I'm highly suspicious of Baptist preachers who love Israel, but love Israel like Jewish Israel to the extent like they're like more loyal to Judaism than Christianity. I'm highly suspicious because Anson Rainey, I liked him. He liked me. We used to talk a lot about Jewish studies. He liked my research on the Moabite inscription. He told me himself. I saw him at Harvard when I was there, and he kind of reiterated stuff, praising my research on Jewish studies. I liked him. We had a pretty good relationship, but he was a Baptist minister converted to Judaism. So I mistrust all Baptist ministers who are aggressively pro-Israel. Like I mistrust Reverend Franklin Graham because he's so pro-Israel. And Reverend Billy Graham wasn't that pro-Israel. You know what I mean? What I respect about Reverend Billy Graham is he was pro-gospel. His passion was to convert people to Christianity. That was his passion. And many people call the Reverend Billy Graham anti-Semitic because he used to preach the Bible, and Bible is anti-Semitic. New Testament, Jesus was anti-Semitic. He called Jews like you brood of vipers. Jesus used all kinds of anti-Semitic words against Jews. So yeah, Jesus was anti-Semitic, and Reverend Billy Graham preached from the New Testament. So obviously he's going to sound anti-Semitic. So a lot of Jews used to call Reverend Billy Graham anti-Semitic, and that's no problem. Who cares what the Jews say? They're like 2% of America's population. Well, you're going to change your religion? You're going to change the gospel for Jews? See, that's where you have a problem. I mean, I'm going to preach the gospel, and I'm not going to change it for Jews. If they don't like it and call me anti-Semite, I'm proud to be anti-Semite, preaching New Testament. I'm not going to accommodate your religion, because that's like lying to people about Bible. The New Testament says some things. I'm not going to hide it just so that you're not offended. Everybody's offended at something. Now, if you're going to go start calling me names because you're offended, I'm offended at Judaism. I'm offended at every Jew who says happy holiday during Christmas time. I'm personally offended because Christmas is celebration of Jesus' birthday. I believe that everybody should say happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, even Jews. Why should they not celebrate my happiness? Celebrating the greatest birthday in a year. The fact that Jews refuse to say Merry Christmas to me offends me personally, because they don't respect me enough to even say something, to say, "Oh, I want you to be happy." So when Jews say happy holidays to me in December, I get offended. But every Jew says happy holiday, and you should be too, if you love Jesus. So, when Jews start using terms like anti-Semite, just because they're offended, I'm like, I'm offended at you. Maybe we should create a name to call Jews names when we're offended at them. Anyway, don't let Jews take down the gospel. We got to defend the faith. Christian faith is worth defending. And that's why I distrust Reverend Franklin Graham. Because, he put out like a one-page ad in New York Times supporting Israel. Who does that? We're not here to support Israel. We're here to support the Christian gospel. We're here to support Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ crucified. We're not here to protect Jews or Jewish interests. We're here to protect the interests of Jesus Christ. That's why I'm highly suspicious of Reverend Franklin Graham. I'm not going to lie to you. When somebody takes out a whole page ad in New York Times to support Israel, I think there's a problem. Why don't you take on an ad saying Jesus Christ is the only savior of the world? That's the gospel. When a Baptist preacher takes out an ad supporting Israel, money that was donated by Christians, I say that's crooked. That's how I feel. I'm not going to lie to you, Reverend Franklin Graham. I think you should change. I think that's something that you have to repent and change, because you should, if you're going to take out any ad, take out ads supporting Jesus, supporting the gospel. Don't take out an ad supporting Jews, supporting secular Jewish state of Israel. And that's just twisted, you know? Jesus did not support secular Jewish state of Israel. Why should you? Why should any Baptist preacher? Why should any Baptist Christian support Jewish state of Israel, or any Assemblies of God preacher, or Christian, or elder, or deacon? You should follow the gospel instead of following Jews. Doesn't make sense. And so for me, I'm a lover of Jesus. I love Jesus. And, I think, like, if you're loving Jews more than Jesus, there's a problem, because, the Bible says Jews killed Jesus. Well, that's in the gospel. Am I lying to you? Am I saying something that's not in the gospels? Tell me if I'm saying something that's not in the gospels. Doesn't the gospels itself say Jews killed Jesus in Book of Acts? So why are you getting all twisted and like bent out of shape when I'm just repeating the gospel to you, when I'm repeating the Book of Acts to you? Well, there's something wrong with you. Maybe you're not a true Christian, right? That's why you're getting all bent out of shape. I love Jesus. Who do you love? You love Jews more than Jesus? It seems that way. And this is my problem with Reverend Franklin Graham. I don't know. I mean, his credentials are kind of shady, He goes to New York and helps out in COVID. I don't see him preaching the gospel anywhere in New York. And Samaritan Purse is a Christian organization whose primary goal should be converting people to Jesus Christ, right? It's not a secular organization. Samaritan Purse is a Christian organization. So its first and primary goal should be sharing the gospel, right? But there's a problem. No, he's not working for like Department of Health and Human Services in New York. He's working for Samaritan Purse. It shouldn't him working for a Christian organization prioritize the Christian gospel? Yeah, I mean, you have to like call people for the things that they do, and I will. Yeah. So you have my Twitter account, Reverend Graham. And so yeah. I mean, if you think I'm saying something that I should not be saying, just let me know, right? But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I call on you, Reverend Franklin Graham, to support Jesus and the gospel more than Jews and Israel. This is wrong to support Israel and Jews more than Jesus Christ and the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that goes for every Baptist minister in the United States of America. I'm putting you on notice. Stop supporting the Jewish state of Israel more than the Christian gospel. Because you cease to be the minister of the gospel as a Baptist preacher if you support Israel, which is a Jewish state. It's not a Christian state, right? If you support Jewish Israel more than the Christian gospel, then you're not a minister of the Christian gospel. You're a minister of Jews. You're like just the political wing of the Jewish state. Is that what you want to be? A political wing of the Jewish state in America? Support Jesus and the kingdom of Christ. You need to get back to the gospel. A lot of Baptist preachers have gone away from the Bible. Those of you support Jewish state of Israel and get all excited about the Jewish state of Israel, there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you. You need to read the Bible and repent and come back to the Bible. It's not too late for you to come back to the Bible. Because the Bible is about Jesus. It's not about Jews. It's about Jesus. New Testament. Old Testament points to Jesus, who's to come. New Testament describes Jesus who came. So don't be going around supporting the Jewish state of Israel at the expense of Christian gospel. Because then you become a political wing of the Jews. You're no longer the Christian gospel preacher that you should be as a pastor in a Baptist church, pastor in an Assemblies of God church. prioritize Jesus and things of Jesus. Prioritize the kingdom of God, because you need to convert the Jews in America if you're truly the gospel preacher that you claim to be. Do you agree with me that every Jew in America should be converted to Christianity or not? That's the Great Commission, right? Obviously, they have to decide for themselves that they want to accept Jesus Christ, because not everybody will be blessed enough to go to the kingdom of heaven to be saved. God predestined some to eternal life. God predestined some to eternal damnation. So not everybody that you preach the gospel to will accept Jesus Christ. But you need to preach the gospel to the Jews and say Judaism is a false religion, Christianity is a true religion. You need to accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. So don't go around supporting Jewish state at the expense of the Christian gospel. Because as the preacher of the gospel in the assemblies of God, as a preacher of gospel in the Church of Nazarene, as a preacher of the gospel in the Southern Baptist Convention, you need to preach the gospel to the Jews in America. And that's what Reverend Franklin Graham did. You know how many Jews converted to Christianity because of Reverend Billy Graham's gospel preaching that attacked the Jews in the way the New Testament attacks Jews? You know how many Jews came to the saving knowledge of Jesus through Billy Graham? You know, there are like famous TV personalities who are Jewish who converted to Christianity through Billy Graham's preaching, where he specifically attacks Judaism. Because that is the New Testament. That is the New Testament. Yeah, there are a lot of Jews that they said about 10% of Jews in America convert to Christianity, maybe more. And a lot of them converted through preaching of Billy Graham. Reverend Franklin Graham, you need to go back to the gospel. You need to go back to the roots of your father. Stop supporting Israel like it's like the most important thing. It's not. What's important is Jesus and the kingdom of Christ. Support that. You need to reprioritize your ministry. Your children and your grandchildren who are clergy need to reprioritize their priorities to advance the Christian gospel and the New Testament, not Jewish state of Israel. That's not important. Whether Jewish state exists or not, that's not important. What's important is that Jesus Christ is honored in every nation, and you preach the gospel in every nation. Follow the Great Commission, baptizing them in the name of God the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, making disciples of all nations, including Israel. Israel needs to become a Christian nation too. So you should focus on converting people in Israel to Christianity, not trying to like defend the Jewish identity of Israel. And that's wrong. Trying to proliferate Jewish identity of Israel. That's wrong. Because you're supposed to share the gospel with Jews in Israel. Because that's how you get eternal life, through the gospel. And that is the love of God that John 3:16 is talking about. Love that saves people from their religion to Christianity. Yeah, so I hope that every Baptist preacher watching this show will reprioritize your political commitments and religious preaching in election year 2020. There's no time like now to go back to the New Testament. Yeah, so I'm Heerak Christian Kim, running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District, where there are a lot of Baptist and evangelical churches. And I'm sure a lot of you who are watching me are Baptists and Assemblies of God who have previously thought in the ways that are wrong that I'm pointing out right now. Let's come back to the right position. So this show is, obviously, trying to save you from COVID, but men shall not live by bread alone, meaning men shall not live by just physical well-being alone. You need to be spiritually well as well. And so Heerak Christian Kim cares about your spiritual well-being. So I'm going to talk about issues of Christianity and spirituality that can help you spiritually survive during the age of COVID. And I want you to go to heaven and have eternal life. I'm going to heaven and I'm going to have eternal life. And I want all of you watching me to join me in heaven for eternal life. I don't want any one of you to go to hell and suffer eternal damnation, torture by Satan forever and ever. I don't want you to experience that. So I'm going to share the gospel with you, whether you're Jewish or Muslim, Hindu, watching this show. I want you to join me in heaven, you know, because I care about you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad that you were able to join me today for this show. And I hope that you learn something that will help you survive COVID and have a better and happy life and wonderful eternity, because that's forever. Um, and I hope that you will tune in tomorrow for this show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. It's a daily show. And yeah, write to Virginia Governor Ralph Northam to get me on the November 3rd ballot. You need me as your leader, as you know. You need me because COVID-19 is going to continue for years and years. And I'm predicting over 30 million Americans will die. Don't you need Heerak Christian Kim in U.S. Congress to help you and your family and your children? You do. So make sure you get me on that ballot. Your life may depend on it. So I hope you'll be well, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye. See you tomorrow.